Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. Welcome to another edition of Up to Speed Live. Starting out today with some good news to share. Reminder, you can always send us good news to good@verizon.com. Now, our employee, Christina Wilcox, who works as a senior data analytics person in our customer service operations team, her son was 10 when she started working at Verizon. Now he is also a Verizon employee and father to a beautiful little bundle of joy there. Blakely Collins Wilcox, 5 pounds, 7 ounces bundle of joy there. Congratulations to the family in Tennessee and welcome to the Verizon family. So here we are live today. We will talk to Hans and Christy about things going on around the business, things going on around the world. But it is noon, so let's get started. Hans, starting with you, how are you, sir?
Jeremy Goodwin, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Hello, all V-teamers. It's great to be back on the Up to Speed Live today. Just want to mention a couple of things. First of all, it's just we are still in these unprecedented times. We have several crises ongoing at the same time. We have the pandemic, the COVID-19. We'll come back to that a little bit. There's also a financial crisis across the globe where the economies are in negative growth and a lot of unemployment. And then, as we discussed last week, we also have the racial injustice crisis that is so important for us to continue to have a dialogue around. And I just want to reiterate what I said last week. I mean, we are fiercely committed to diversity and inclusion because that makes our company and the world a better place. And we will continue to keep those dialogues up to see that this is just not being anything that was last week. And I have to say the engagement we have seen the last week from all the V-teamers has been just fantastic. Our ERG, our Employee Resource Group, BOLD, had several of these courageous conversations. We've been attended by thousands of people, just amazing. And there have been 2 this week, and both of them, just can be seen on the web if you want to go back and look at the conversation. Because these discussions we're having, it can also be that you're listening, because it's partly also to listen and learn equally much as engage in the conversation. And the VLC has, during the last week, as we discussed this earlier last week, we have continued to have conversation with all the stakeholders, internal and external, how we bring this forward, how we continue this so important conversation. And Christy will today share with you how we now take this forward, because, again, I just want to reiterate, it's in our core values, diversity and inclusion. We are becoming a better company. We're becoming a better world if we just do that. And we, as a responsible company, just need to continue to do that. And of course, we talk about forward together, and it's forward together for everyone. And that's so important for us. And so I just want to encourage you to continue that engagement. We will engage with all the stakeholders, the BOLD ERG, to see that we have that conversation and dialogue and listening mode at the same time in order to actually make a meaningful change to these injustices. So stay tuned. Christy will come in a second and talk a little bit more in detail about it. Let me come back to the COVID-19 and the pandemic. I always remind you about our priorities. They have not changed. Number 1, safe and health for our employees. And again, as the country is opening up here in the United States and in many other countries, I just want you to be cautious. Follow all the rules we have, all the social distancing and all of that, because we don't want to have a second wave of this, and we don't want to put you in any risks. So that's so important for us. And also for all the leaders and for the employees, we did our pulse survey that we disclosed last week. Now it's time to work with that, because there's a lot of feedback how you and all of us feel right now in this crisis, how we act as a company, what more information we need in order to continue to do a great job and aspiring and supporting our purpose. So continue to do that. On the network and customer side, talked to a lot of customers, of course, the last couple of weeks. Some conversation about network, but to also say it, we talk a lot about what's happening in the country right now and the crisis we see around us. The racial injustice. I've talked to many of the CEOs. How they feel about what they are doing as companies, because this is a collective mission we all have. But if we summarize the network right now, Kyle and the team has done an amazing job. I'm just going to read. The last 3 months, from March to May, 58 billion calls in the network, 519 billion messages. It's just numbers you never thought were possible in our network, and the network has kept up resilient, very strong performance across all the borders, our fixed, our mobile, and our fiber network. And I have to thank the engineering team, our frontline that's out there every day to see that the network keeps up. And now we're also getting some hurricanes and some storms in here, which is part of our normal work. But with all other things, I thank you all in the frontline for keeping those networks up. The third priority is, of course, serve our communities. And we continue to do that. The most vulnerable in our communities right now with the school, education, the first responders, all of that becomes so important for us to support because they are out there and doing a job, and our children are, of course, needing the education. And ultimately, we continue with our proactive business decisions, and we acquired Blue Jeans, which we are using today here, which is just amazing how quickly that has embedded in our company, and we will continue to look into that. The management team, or the VLC, are continuing to have meetings very frequently, basically every morning. We continue to work with the crises that we have, all 3 of them that I mentioned. Christy is leading the charge, keeping us up to date of how we're doing, the rules we're setting, the return to office practices, etc. But we also spend time on the business as usual. What's happening when we're now opening more stores? How is the business going? It's very important for us that we serve our customers right now. And I can see that all our business group are much more entrenched in our business. And lastly, we spend a lot of time thinking about what new products do we need to have in the future, and how do we develop those products because of new societal behaviors. I think that video conferencing is something natural. I think that remote education, telehealth, and things like that, and we need to serve our customers with that. So I think both Guru, Tammy, and Ronan are constantly now evolving the product portfolio and solutions in order to support our customers better. And we also, of course, think about the future of the workplace, where we get a lot of feedback from all of you out there and continue to do that. Christy and the team are taking all that in and thinking, how will we look in a new normal? We know how we do right now in our normal phases of return to office, and that's the rules we have right now. But as leaders, we need to think in the future of new products, new solutions, and seeing that we are coming out even stronger from this pandemic and all the other crises, and that all stakeholders has a positive sort of outcome of this, I don't have words for it, but this extremely tough situation that we are going through as a company, as a nation, and as a world. I think that's a little bit of the update, Jeremy. A lot of it is happening the last couple of weeks here again, so I'm happy to take questions later on what we're doing, but I hand it back to you, Jeremy.
All right, Hans, thank you so much for that. And like you said, if you do have questions, you can send those to live@verizon.com. I see a couple of them coming in now, so stand by for those questions, Hans. Want to switch gears over to Christy. Christy, you joined us earlier this week telling us about return to office and whatnot. I know you have other updates today. Start out, how are you?
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Great to be here with you and talking to all the V-teamers. And as you said, I was on earlier this week talking about our return to office plan, and a lot of things are in motion this week. And I'm going to be happy to talk about that under the Q&A section of our session today. What I really wanted to do is share, as Hans indicated, what we are going to be continuing to do as a company to really ensure that we're active around helping racial justice come to fruition and have us have the world that we all want to live in. And I think the last 10 days, having worked for 31 years, the last 10 days have really been some of the most moving and poignant in my whole career. It really is not the first time we're having conversations about racism and discrimination and inequality, but it does feel like we have arrived at a tipping point, and there's really a seismic shift in engagement of people from all parts of the world and the communities really putting forth efforts together to say this time we really have to make sure that we push for meaningful change. And so at Verizon, I think you heard from Hans, we're right in this, and we're not going to wait for the world. We're actively developing new programs and opportunities to make sure that our culture and business reflect the change that we want and need to see. And also you heard from Hans, and I think the members of the VLC feel really passionately about this as well. The first thing that we need to do, and we want all of us to do, is really just start by listening, learning, and leaning in to understand what needs to be done right now and how and what we have to do to care for this on an ongoing basis. And so I want to share a few slides today to just give a little more of a sense of what we've done so far. So if Jeremy, the team could put up slide 1, I want to share that these conversations have started. And while we may wish they started sooner, the fact is we're really excited that they have started. And so many of you have joined the conversation. We feel over the last week we've been able to engage quickly, and the energy and the response from the employees of the company has been outstanding. And I want to thank the leaders of our BOLD Affinity Employee Resource Group, who've really just been leading the charge and really helping partner with us to bring these courageous conversations forward. I was able to join one last week and again this week. Each had multiple thousand employees participating in the dialogue, and really just amazing, eye-opening and thoughtful sharing about experiences that we can all learn from. Also, Hans hosted a leadership forum panel that we shared publicly with our lead director, Clarence Otis, followed by and joined by senior leaders in our company, Krista, Wendy, Ram, who shared deeply personal stories and reflections. Also, later in the week, on Friday, we heard from Willie Jackson, a diversity and inclusion expert, who joined us on Up to Speed and really helped give a sense for how we could translate our allyship into action. And we've also seen teams host their own forums, like the finance team, who had a panel discussion with Shane Sanders, Peter Urquhart, Jennifer Johnson, and Joe Roos, who shared their personal accounts on a bias and discrimination that they have faced. And that's just one of many of those kind of conversations happening throughout the company. And these conversations are going to continue so that we can have regular programming and all of us can improve our knowledge and awareness. We've also put together a toolkit based on input from everyone to begin to help employees understand how they can start a conversation on race, because a lot of folks have reached out and said, I'm not sure how to, and I don't want to do it wrong. And we also know from our minority, Black and African American employees, they're wanting to talk to their other colleagues in the company. And so we're going to help try to make sure people know how to have those important conversations. And lastly, on Monday, you'll hear from Rose Kirk, who heads up all of Verizon's social responsibility activities. She's going to join Up to Speed and talk about the work she's done to help curate volunteer events around racial justice and equality that have now been added to our volunteer portal so all employees can find out how they can do that. So this, Jeremy, is just a brief snapshot of what we've been able to do since last Monday when Hans gave the opening comments around this for really putting our V-Team actions into motion. If I could also share the second slide that I have today, the VLC has had a number of conversations on this over the last week and have been out doing their own personal listening and engaging with employees on their teams, members of the BOLD organization, and we feel very strongly that listening is the first step of any of the activities here for all of us to heal. And we put forth what we call kind of our action plan, and it's really anchored in 3 areas. First is around continuing the conversation. So all the things I shared that we were able to do over the last 10 days or so, we want to make sure carry forward. So we're going to make sure we have a continued listening and learning throughout the company. And in addition, that we have these Friday conversations like the one we had last week with Willie Jackson. and that we provide resources for employees and the toolkit that's forthcoming for leaders and employees. In the middle, we want to also do a lot of work around continuing to build a strong organization. During the Bold conversations that I joined, a lot of employees posted questions to the chat and shared feedback about wanting to build their career at Verizon, wanting to know how to take full advantage of all of our leadership and skilling programs. They want to be part of helping us pipeline talent from sources around the world that can bring folks into our company, like the historically Black colleges and universities and programs that help high school students get internships and such. So we're very excited about making sure we've got robust HR processes and making sure we've got good hiring and leadership pipelines in our organization. Also, lots of comments from the conversations I joined about continuing the unconscious bias training and ramping up strong training around allyship. So stay tuned. Those are going to be part of our path forward. And finally, our third platform is going to be around community engagement. We think that as Verizon, we have a whole commitment to our four stakeholders, and society is one of those. And so Rose Kirk, along with other leaders in the company, is helping lead our efforts in this space. And so you saw we've got we not only are curating volunteer activities in ways that employees can direct their passion and their energy into this area, but we also have put financial resources behind this. And Rose is in direct contact with the leaders of the 7 organizations we donated to help make sure that our employees in Verizon are seeing the maximum value of that contribution to helping break down social and racial justice issues. And we're also going to continue to work on civic areas of interest, in particular with focus on voting and helping make sure all V-teamers know how to get registered and participate in the amazing right that we have in the United States democracy and in democracies around the world to cast our vote. And so I would say, Jerry, just in my closing segment here, we are going to continue to talk about these areas. I'll be back with Rose and others to share what we're doing. And I want everybody out there to know this is really a moment to take and build on the amazing conversations that have started and have this be something where we move forward together like we want to do with everything else in Verizon and be and make the world what we want it to be. And so I'm honored to be part of the V team and be here helping work with all of you. And your feedback is going to be vital to that. So thank you.
Christy, thank you so much for that. And you talk about some of those powerful conversations, the one with Matt Ellis and team earlier this week. We've got that available for replay. I encourage everybody to watch that, to know what our teammates are going through. And Hans started that conversation for us as a company last week. Hans, since then, what have you heard from people in the business, maybe people outside of the business about that?
Oh, it has been very emotional. A lot of people have contacted me directly. A lot of our employees sent mails with their experience, good and bad, and just to get that feedback is invaluable, because that is really what we need to understand, so we actually take this to the right direction. And the same goes for the external. I mean, I can have sometimes I get a lot of feedback or conversation when we do a financial deal, but I've never had so much feedback from colleagues in different businesses after our conversation that we had. And it's not about what they said, it's more about the engagement that we see. And that's what Christy, our Bold ERG and all other stakeholders together with VLC are now crafting in what she presented. That it comes out from those conversations. But first of all, I thank all the V-teamers that has mailed me personally with their stories, so moving and so important. So just to share, and as I said also, I mean, for me, and sometimes I need to listen in this, but I have also the responsibility to see that we do something with it, and that we continue this dialogue and do what we're supposed to do as a responsible company, as we have this as a core value. I mean, inclusion and diversity, that's why we're great. That's why we're getting better all the time. So, and I'm so obsessed that we just need to make this happen and take these actions. So it has been emotional for many, many people. For me, it was enormously emotional. But now that emotion needs to be actions, and that's where we are. And I thank everyone that has contributed to what we do in the next steps. All the ERGs, all the different members of our V teams, external people, and of course the people in our VLC that has been pulling all this together.
Good. Hans, thank you for that. And those conversations will continue, as you heard Christy lay out the plan there. And like she said, Rose will be joining us Monday to talk more about that. And again, all of the pieces that we have out there that you can watch and learn and educate your family and friends about that we've got for folks online. Changing the topic of discussion a little bit based on some of the questions that I see coming in right now. Christy, I want to swing this one your way about the return to office. Yesterday, office-based employees like myself, got emails about the July return to office. What should they be expecting next, and how has the feedback been for that so far?
Thanks for that question. We laid out a lot of information on Monday's Up to Speed. We've updated the web page, and we know we put some additional communications out to our employees. So this is specifically for employees who have been primarily working from home, that are office-based, that starting July 6th will now be assigned 1 out of every 4 weeks in their groupings of A, B, C, or D, where they can access the office if they have business critical reasons to do so, or they're unable to continue to do their work from home. And this allows us, between now and the end of September, every employee will have 3 weeks out of those 12 that their group will have their turn at the office. And the idea here is, first, many employees have reached out and said, I really have to be able to work in the office. I can't work remote for a variety of reasons. And second, we are seeing shelter-in-place restrictions removed, and businesses are beginning to reopen. So we want to do this incredibly gradually, and we want to learn like we did with touchless retail and with Tech-C for our folks that have been in the field and on the front line through this whole crisis. So we are, 25% occupancy, and we have new safety procedures, new signage in the buildings, and we're beginning to build people's awareness of what working in this new normal is going to look like. And so people would have received a letter yesterday and throughout the day from their manager talking about how this affects their teams. And I would say keep the dialogue going. If there's questions, there's the Ask Christy box, there's your supervisor, there's your HR team member, as well as our COVID web page. But the idea here is that we're beginning to phase back in. Again, only go in if you need to be able to work from the office. We've already communicated that our call center teams are going to continue to be home-based. Remember, they have a lot of equipment that we sent home for them to be able to work from home. So a lot of the equipment that would be in the office is out actually distributed to employees in their homes. So it's not particularly realistic that people can up and transition that every time they need to come in or out of the office. So those teams will stay working from home through September. And then we've heard from Krista and other leaders from Network over the last 10 days how they're continuing to ramp up the number of stores that are open, as well as we're continuing to work down our dispatch calls and begin to service customers in homes. And so lots going on, Jeremy, but as you've heard repeatedly from Hans and other members of the VLC, safety and employee health is our top priority. Therefore, each step of the way we start gradually, we learn, we get V-teamer input, we improve, and we go from there.
Good. Christy, thank you so much for that. Hans, going to you for this question here. We're nearing the end of the second quarter, if you can believe it or not. What should we be focusing on as a business right now?
That's a good question, and how I steer my team is that we have a huge responsibility to drive our business. I think, again, we have our core business, and seeing that we serve our customers in that one, that's sort of one priority, and that means that we just need to be close to them in these times, and I think we have done a great job. Secondly, we just need to leverage our new assets. We are now deploying more 5G than ever, and seeing that we continue to have the thought leadership and the winning concept in 5G for our consumers, for our home customers, and for the mobile edge compute customers. Those are the businesses that we're driving right now. And the third pillar for me is that the new businesses that we're creating based on the societal behaviors we see, they have to come out. We are pushing them as soon as possible because that's what our customer needs in order to continue to operate their business. So I think we have it pretty clear for us what needs to be done on our business sides. And I spend a lot of time with my business leaders and their teams to talk about how we now continue to run this company and leading this market as we've done for so long time. And we're not planning to give up that number one position ever.
Yeah. And, interesting, you talk about this 5G home new market announced live yesterday in Detroit, so that's good to see. So good expectation of what we should all be doing as a business. Wrapping on this one, Hans, before your final thoughts, I know you have I'm with former President Bill Clinton tomorrow during our commencement series, 11 a.m. Eastern. That's what Up to Speed will be tomorrow, so check that out. What should we expect to hear in that address tomorrow?
I'm still working on it. No, this is, of course, something that is dear to us all. I think that many of the graduates that was graduating this year, all their plans has been totally changed. I have a son that graduated from high school, and it was a sort of a caravan of cars instead of actually how it used to be. So whatever we can do as a company to give them the dignity and the cherishes of graduating from school is important. That's why we started these virtual commencement addresses, which have been going on for a couple of weeks, and this is the last sort of commencement speech. And I'm going to speak a little bit first, but I guess President Clinton will come after me, and as we all know, he's a very good speaker, so I have a hard time, of course, being ahead of him. But I will talk a little bit about the situation. I will also talk about leadership in this situation and give some comfort that challenging times as we have, there are opportunities arising, and I think that's what you can give them. But it's a tough time to be a graduate in these times. You're so excited for what's going to happen in this graduation and all of that. And secondly, if you're graduating from college, you were expecting to come out to work and in a work market that is going to be tougher. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen. I'm still working on my speech, but by 11 tomorrow, I promise you it's going to be there.
That's what matters there. So that is live tomorrow at 11. You can watch that on the Verizon LinkedIn channel, as well as we'll be streaming that through Up to Speed. And there'll be some opportunities for questions there for folks to ask as well. So Hans, with that, final thoughts today for us, please.
When I talked to the leadership forum last week, I talked about that. I understand that the situation is overwhelming. There's so many things happening at the same time. We have the three crises I talked about. We have business as usual. We need to continue to innovate as a company to lead. But I told them that we cannot deprioritize any of these things. We, as a responsible company, need to be able to address all of them. The only way to address them is that we stay together as a team. We talk to our colleagues. It's so clear we can be overwhelmed with all the things that's happening at the same time, and also personal situation in all of that, which is even tougher. I can only say the only way to get through it, talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues. If you feel it's too much, talk to them. We can all help each other much better. I reach out to my leadership team constantly. Basically every morning I talk to them. And I'm going to continue to do that because I understand there's so much things happening. And I can only reassure you, we cannot say that we're not prioritizing that. We're not doing that. That's not the time. As a responsible business, we're going to address all the crises we have. We're going to address the business as usual. We're going to address us emerging stronger out of that. But we need to distribute the burden and work together. And I've seen during these 12, 13, 14 weeks, the V-teamers has come together and how we're doing this in a fantastic fashion. Please continue. And usually, Jeremy and I tell you, remember to talk to your friends, your colleagues, give a call. It doesn't need to be scheduled. Just hear what's happening and how we can support each other. And I think that's my summary of today, and it's so important. And then I will always remind you of the safe and healthy of all of you, our employees in the field, in the stores. You have your protocols. Just see that you continue to follow. All others, there are other protocols for continue to keep this pandemic coming down as fast as possible, so get the economy back, etc. And then, as I said in the beginning, the conversation about the racial injustice, we just need to continue to have that. I'm going to continue to push for it. You all need to do it. This is a collective action we need to take. Diversity and inclusion is so important for our company, for the world, to make this a better place to be. Back to you, Jeremy.
Well, thank you, Hans. So many important things for us to focus on, to keep in mind. So I will leave it at that today. Like I said, we'll be live at 11 tomorrow a.m. Eastern for Hans and President Bill Clinton as they close out our commencement series. So looking forward to that. Hope you all have a good day. Like I said, tomorrow live at 11 a.m. Eastern. And until next time, you're up to speed.